Hello, my name is Dr. Duncan here with Minds Unlimited and Minds Unlimited Media, here to add some perspective to your mind state. Today we'll be discussing balance, how to better oneself. So stay tuned, open up your mind for new perspective, and let's get it going. Unlimited Media Channel. My name is Dr. J. Duncan here to add some perspective to your mind state. Today's episode will be covering the topic of balance, how to better one's self, how to better one's life. And I don't know if you can see this here, but I'm wearing one of my favorite, this is one of my all-time invisible mentors, if you will, Bruce Lee. If you didn't know, research it, look it up. Bruce Lee, and I don't know if you can see behind me here, we have The Warrior Within, the philosophy of Bruce Lee. I'm going to be discussing some topics that I have learned throughout my practice in mental health, but also that I have learned through reading about and watching the movies of and understanding the man that we know as Bruce Lee. So, this is, near and dear and heart to me. But with that said, we're going to be discussing the element of balance. So, in thinking of Bruce Lee, thinking of martial arts, and thinking of the term balance, we kind of visit the Eastern philosophy and use the yin and yang symbol, or the Tao, for some people. And it kind of symbolizes a working of two forces. Sometimes people call them opposite forces or forces in opposition, but some understand it to be, how would you say, the forces that exist inside. So not necessarily oppositional, but more so the flip side of the coin. They both two forces working together to give you an outcome. So with the whole martial art aspect of it, you have elements like hard and soft working together in order to help communicate or to learn different aspects of life. So why did I come into this and say, hey, let me teach you how to better oneself, how to, in a sense, evolve? Because in Bruce Lee's philosophy and in that book, it kind of talked about how he approached life and how he approached lessons and learned different things and chose to say, you know what, there are things that I'm going to learn. I need to see how they apply to me. Take out the things that do not apply, that don't help me to get better, and then to work out those things that apply to what I'm trying to learn or apply to my life that I know it. But in doing so, there is an existence of previous knowledge or awareness of self, and then there's things you don't know. There's things that you were not aware of that you're coming to awareness of. So as they meet, they are oppositional in nature. There's the known and unknown, and the ability to allow the known to give room for the unknown to then become the known, I know it's getting deep, is the element of how these things can kind of work together, at least one example. So, how does this apply to you? I know that not everybody out there is a Bruce Lee fan, even though you should be. Give me a thumbs up if you're a Bruce Lee fan. Leave a comment in the section below. Tell me what your favorite movie was, Game of Death. Anyway, not everybody buys into this ideology of how to learn or how to apply things. But I would like to suggest that whether you're an Eastern philosophy or you adapt Western philosophy, that you probably use these elements more than you know. And when I talked about balance, as far as a lot of people think of it as, whoa, like I want to stay grounded so I don't fall. Well, you still are using two elements. You're using gravity, which is pulling down, and then you're using strength to stand up. But it isn't about how they oppose each other, it's how they complement each other, right? So in the field of knowledge or field of learning, how do we evolve? By learning new things. Well, the only way you can learn is if you're open to learning. If you have knowledge and you're saying, you know what, I am humble enough to say that I need more, you're using current knowledge to be able to adapt and grow to new knowledge. That's the reason why the more you know or the more you read, it's easier to read newer books or it's easier to take in new information. It's not because new information is just oh, I like this better, it's because you're building off of previous information. And that previous information that is built in that noggin or stored up is not in opposition to new information. If that's getting too deep for you, let me go on and do it like this. Let's say in the world of physical, so let's say we're talking about working out. There are different elements. There's flexibility and then there's like strength. Those are the two that we usually talk about. And we usually talk about these in the sense of making yourself more healthy or becoming better. So there's one that's considered to be soft, not saying weak, not saying any of that, but please understand that when we say soft, we mean the nature of how it flows. It's more like the stretching and more like yoga or Tai Chi, right? Those that have ever practiced these things know it takes physical strength, know it takes some rhythm, but it's more of the flow. Some people call it the chi or the air, the flow that you're putting through the motion is learning the body, learning the movements, right? And then you have the iron pushing, you got the weights, you got people that are building their body physique, right? But too much of one or the other is not a good thing. If you're very flexible but have no strength, you probably wouldn't deem yourself to be extremely healthy, right? If you're very strong, you got muscles galore, but you have no flexibility, you can't do anything, you're not mobile, you kind of get stuck. One without the other cannot evolve after a certain point. Yes, there are strengths on one side and the other, but it isn't until they begin to play with each other. It isn't until you start training the muscles and you stretch and be more flexible that your agility goes up, right? It isn't until you stretch, but then you gain some strength and you're able to do new poses. You're able to hold your core in, right? Those that do yoga, give me a thumbs up that you know what I'm saying. Those that do Tai Chi, you know what I'm saying. Those that do any form of martial law, whether it be boxing or whether it be even those that play games of it, you know that it isn't just the skill or the knowledge on one end. It is the knowledge and the practice, right? It is the flexibility and the strength. It is the previous knowledge and the new knowledge. So what am I saying? I'm saying that this yin and yang, this balance that we're referring to, is a dance of tranquility. Yes, when things are tranquil, that's when things are flowing good together. You like that? That's when things are flowing good together. When things are in opposition and they're just sporadic, they don't have a flow. Now notice I didn't use the word balance as an equal. That's because the word balance technically doesn't always equate to being equal. It isn't just 50-50. Sometimes in situations it will require you to give 60% and take 40%. Or other times it will require that you only take 10% and something else has to fill in 90%. We know this to be true in relationships. It is not always 50-50. We would like it to be, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes the person that you're with or the person that you love, you may love them a whole bunch. I love you 90%. But today they're only capable of giving you that 10. It still equals out to 100, but it's not about 50-50. You get what I'm saying? Neither is knowledge. There's so much knowledge that we don't know that we can't ever say that we gave truly 50-50 to the industry of knowledge. I mean, look at me. I have a PhD and I still know that I'm humble enough to say I don't know everything. I know a lot of stuff. I do. I think I do. But I don't know everything. And also, there's always new heights. Whether you're the biggest, baddest martial art person ever, Bruce Lee, you need to be humble enough to know that there's always another level. Like, you may be good. You may be better than everyone in your circle. But to be a true balanced artist is to know that we evolve. And if your ego gets bigger than your skill, you're unbalanced. Right? If your skill gets too big and then you don't have any confidence, it's unbalanced. So we know what unbalanced looks like, but how does this impact us today? Dr. J, how can I apply this to my life today? Yeah, I hear you talking about philosophy. I hear you talking about mindsets. That's all good. I can read it in a book. But how does this apply? Oh, my friend, if you really look at your life, I'm willing to bet you can probably point out a whole lot of areas to where there's unbalance. How do we know this? Because we're able to see when things stop flowing. We're creatures of habit. We operate in rhythm. So all those things that stop a rhythm, probably is because it's not a balance. There isn't a balance of flow and movement, right? So what I'm essentially asking you is, to open up your sensitivity, be aware of some things, and know that balance is not a one-time deal. You might get good at something, right? So, in other words, some people, let's talk about health again. Let's say I start going on runs, right? I start going on my runs, I'm doing good. I'm consistent every day. I'm doing some type of exercise. And then next thing you know, I'll go like, oh my God, I got other areas of life I need to worry about. I have school, so I need to work on my school schedule. But if I'm hyper-focused on one and I forget about the other, what happened to my health, right? A lot of people can relate. And that's because we're not really thinking about how do we balance all these systems. We're just thinking about how many systems we have. So, how do we elevate ourselves? I guess is what we're getting at today. If you take nothing else from this video, I want you to know this. In order to truly elevate, you must master the process of the journey that you're in. What does that look like? That looks like balance. It isn't you being so sufficient that you just get all the tasks done. If you want to bodybuild, I did 10 reps of everything. It ain't even about that. It's about understanding your body and knowing what it needs to grow. I read 50 books. It's not about the 50 books. It's about you understanding what you didn't know and learning how to apply it into your life, right? I want to be financially stable. It technically isn't even about how much you make in one instance. It's really about how much is coming in versus how much is coming out. Balance. So, I'm going to get off the soapbox of that. Give me a thumbs up if you liked what you heard. If you think that this was helpful. If you think someone else needs to hear this, share it. Subscribe below. Let me know that we're doing a good job so we can provide more content like this. But, ladies and gents, those that are Bruce Lee fans, those that understand the way, I just suggest to you today that you look at your life. You don't have to look at externally. You just look at your life. What in your life can benefit from some extra balance? All right. If you want to share below to let people know the different journeys and where you're at, what things that you're trying to work on balancing, please comment below. I'll try to respond to it and we'll just be in some dialogue. I want to help you because by helping you, that helps me. And that, my friend, each one teach one. Another one is balance. So after you like, subscribe, and comment below, please check us out on our other social media platforms, such as our Instagram at Minds Unlimited, or the website at www.mindsunlimited.com, or go check out the podcast on almost every podcast platform. But if you go to anchor.com or look up Minds Unlimited Podcast, you should be able to find us. I will leave all information in the detailed description below. And ultimately, I just hope that I helped somebody. If it's just one person that got help with this topic, maybe you thought about it before. Maybe you just needed to see Bruce Lee to be encouraged. Who knows? All I know is that it came upon me to talk about this today, and I wanted to share it with you. So, as always, the smallest change in life can change your perspective. And until next week, peace.